Hi there, my name is Emeka Nnadi. I am the principal and founder of the Nadi Group. We are a consulting firm comprised of architects, landscape architects, and urban designers. We are complete community city builders. Today we're going to talk about what makes a city smart and the component pieces to that. Imagine a city that can think, respond, and evolve to respond to human needs real time. What we mean when we talk in those terms, we're really describing a smart city that utilizes ecological systems as well as modern day technological advancements to provide real-time feedback, usually driven by some kind of AI engine or some kind of machine learning environment to respond quickly. I'll give you one example. Traffic. Using complicated AI algorithms or such, a city is able to navigate and respond real time to traffic ebbs and flows, often switching lanes of traffic from one direction to another so that it expands the volume of available lanes and traffic, feeding a demand, say for morning time rush hour into the downtown area or end of day rush hour out of the downtown area. That's just one example. Real-time responses might also include power fluctuations, energy drives, food supply, other types of delivery mechanisms within cities that require technologically enhanced real-time monitoring and adaptation. Cities that respond to needs and ebbs and flows real time might also be cities where a certain planting regimen, certain urban forest regimen is incorporated that allows for optimal shade and oxygen production during the summer versus openness and transparency for sunlight to penetrate during the winter. There's all sorts of things that create smartness and intelligence in cities or at the city level, and that's what we're going to deep dive into today. Technology is an interesting thing. The data sets and the data points that are typically collected to create smart cities might, for example, include weather sensors or sensors that determine sunlight exposure, wind direction, and velocity. In terms of human activity, the sensors might also include sensors across traffic lines that measure the volumes and the directions of traffic on an ongoing basis. Cameras or visual cues that watch traffic flows are also part of the data that would be collected within a smart city environment. Sensors that monitor pedestrian traffic and flows is also something that would be collected by these sensors. So we're talking cameras, we're talking road sensors, we're talking transportation readouts. All of these would feed into some sort of centralized data processing system that makes decisions on the fly. One of the projects that I'm insanely proud of was a 10,000 acre smart city design greenfield, so designed from the ground up. One of the technological features within that design involved the city's ability to read electricity or power consumption during the morning, afternoon, and evenings, and cross-reference that against the city's ability to generate clean, renewable solar energy with its solar fields and solar collectors. And what that did was it created a really dynamic management system for managing power between the state or the regional power grid and what was happening in that 10,000 acre smart community. So there would be times when the community grid was generating a lot more power than it was consuming. And because the choice was made not to have battery or storage systems within the community, the excess, the surplus energy was fed into the larger grid and provided abundant energy for other locations. And during times when the community, the 10,000 acre community, was consuming more power than it was able to generate real time, say evenings or at night, it drew down from the regional grid in an active fashion. So the benefit to that community is that overall the expenditure or the cost of energy dropped significantly because it was using renewable energy as a backstop to the overall power grid. And that's just one example. We tend not to use the word sustainable as much anymore, and we are moving towards something that is defined as resilient. And when you think about the word resilience, you think about having redundancies and multiple overlays that respond to the same sort of pressures, so that if one system fails, there's a redundant backup system that keeps things going. So in the instance of having a smart city using a drawing down power from the national or the regional power grid, you have a backstop of other forms of energy to provide that resilience in the case of a major power outage on the grid level. In the instance of resilience when it comes to food supply, future cities or smart resilient cities would have a significant provision for greenhouses, neighborhood gardens. The ability to produce sort of farm to table within the urban environment is certainly key. Another system that smart cities will employ is what we would call decentralized infrastructure. So the decentralizing of water and sewer plants and creating microgrids of these types of things creates redundancy and resilience, in that if something happens to the citywide or the regional grid of sewer and septic water processing plants on a smaller sort of neighborhood basis, these smaller clusters of neighborhoods can rely on their own sewer and septic systems to continue to operate efficiently and without interruption. So those are three quick examples of what we would expect in future-proofed smart cities. Another example is the idea, and this idea is not new, but is the idea of the 10 or the 15 or the 20-minute city, where from a land use planning perspective, most, if not all, of the features that one would expect to have access to for living locally is available within that radius. So you can literally walk to your grocery store, walk to your chiropractors, walk to your office or your place of employment, walk to your children's schools, walk to significant areas for recreation, hiking, outdoor fun, etc., etc. You can essentially live locally within a 10 to 25 minute radius. That type of system creates nodes or smaller villages within the overall city grid, and each one of those nodes becomes resilient or sustainable within itself and can better handle extreme weather or other forms of disruption caused by climate change. If you are a municipal agent or a private developer and you have that bug in your ear or that itch in your heart and you want to be part of creating sustainable, complete communities, I'd encourage you to reach out to us here at the Nadi Group. Go on our website, and right on the homepage, there's a button to talk about your project. You'll see my smiley face at the other end. Connect with us, and we'll be super excited to connect with you and discuss your vision for your project. I am proud of all of our projects, and certainly the idea of smart cities or the idea of resilient community development is on a gradated scale. So everything is somewhat sustainable, and other projects can be extremely sustainable or extremely resilient. We're certainly very proud of a 15,000 acre eco-village smart city that we designed that actually was in the Bahamas on Long Island. In that particular project, not only did we bring the technologies of water sequestering and desalination, localized power grids, urban agriculture, and sort of farm to table, but we also overlaid that with storm-proof, tornado-proof, modular housing that had a very low impact on the local environment, on the local ecosystem. And the idea of that was important to creating a sustainable, viable, resilient community. One of the most beautiful sites I've ever experienced in the world, providing those types of residential accommodations at a price point that was affordable or attainable, many second home owners, but also in such a way that it guaranteed resilience to extreme weather conditions, which in that location would be tornadoes and sea storms. It's a very exciting mix or congruence of all the leading technologies that would be required to make something like that viable and make the human experience amazing while protecting all of the environmental drivers and environmental conditions, flora, fauna, and life. The biggest challenge to incorporating resilient design, the technological features we've talked about, and human-centered urban planning is probably not what you think. The largest detriment or challenge to achieving intelligent communities, smart cities, complete communities across all of North America is a little thing called zoning. We're actively working along with other planners and future thinking designers across the world at removing or eliminating single-use land use zoning. That's the largest challenge to achieving smarter ways of living across North America. Many of my clients struggle with great ideas that die because they don't fit into a single-use land zone that municipalities or state governments can easily approve. The other challenges would be the cost of being on the cutting edge or on the leading or bleeding edge of some of these innovations. That second challenge is rapidly going away. For example, the cost to benefit value of solar energy has dropped about 75% over the last decade. Solar panels are more affordable and more efficient than they have ever been. The cost of creating water and sewer plants that are decentralized at the neighborhood level has also dropped about 50% over the last decade, and so on and so forth. Technologically speaking, technology is ready to create smarter, more resilient, more human-centric cities. The legislation just hasn't quite caught up. And in terms of single most challenging issues, that's by far the highest. And some of what we are trying to do is really quite commonsensical. There's a phrase that most planners and designers are very familiar with now, which is the missing middle. And that describes communities that are built around human activity and human interaction, where you can have a corner store underneath a 2 or 3 story residential apartment building. You can have shops and places of work interspersed with residential areas. You can have multiple modes of residences. You can have rental, you can have home ownership, you can have townhouses, you can have duplexes, you can have single family, all mixed in within one city block. This is historically how things have been. But again, the single-use zoning laws that are predominant across most of North America precludes that from happening on new developments right now. And that's the most significant restriction or limiting factor to creating modern, future-focused, missing middle, human-centric, resilient communities. I'm very optimistic about the future. The trend that we are seeing, and I'm sure you're no different from the rest of us, is that across North America, the demand for attainable, respectful housing and accommodations is becoming almost a war cry. And the demand and the pressures of providing complete communities and respectful and resilient residential accommodations to our citizens is something that's not going away. So anything else, demand begets supply. And we just can't continue to develop single-use subdivisions the way we have historically done over the last 50 years. So the tidal wave is coming, and I'm optimistic that developers, municipalities, and urban designers such as the Nadi Group will rise to the demand. And what I see happening is smarter, more efficient, more human-focused ways of developing communities that are more complete and that enrich lives to a much higher standard than we're experiencing right now. That's the only way to move forward. It's inevitable, really. It's either that or cataclysmic things happen. So I'm really excited about the future, and I believe that one municipality at a time, one state or province at a time, things will start to move in that direction, and that's the future that I'm excited to be part of.